everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I wanted to share with you a fun technique that will add some depth and dimension to your projects in a pretty easy way. And this is to use a graphite pencil to add in all of those shadows and highlights and such. And I'm using the Paint a Flower Rose stamp set by Altenew. So I have my image stamped here, and all I need is a graphite pencil, a blending stump or tortillon if you're feeling fancy, and a kneadable eraser. And the kneadable eraser works really great because you can make it into fine points to get into detail areas, and you can just knead it and it will absorb all the graphite and be ready to use again. So those are the three things that we'll use. And I just have my image stamped here. Now you can do this on an image that you already have color in. If you want to add additional detail, you can use your graphite pencil for that, or you can just use it in a simple black and white fashion like I did here. So the interesting thing about flowers is that there's always more dimension than meets the eye. Not only do you have dimension here in the little crevices, so I'm just adding in the smallest bit of graphite, and I take my blending stump and go around in little swirls to blend it out. See how easily that happens, and then all of a sudden I've got some dimension going on here, right? So this is one place that you definitely have your shadows, and that's kind of the most obvious place, right? But there's a lot of movement in flower petals that you have to account for as well. So like all of these little curves here are actually, little bends in the petal. And so if we extend those in a little bit with our pencil and then come back and blend them out a little bit, you start to have a little bit more dimension in that actual petal. And so like if you feel like you've gotten too much graphite in there, you can go ahead and just dab it and it will pick up some of that extra graphite, and then you can come back in and blend it out again. Alright, so the same thing with this petal down here is that you're going to have, of course, the shadow here from where the petal comes over it. That one's kind of a no-brainer, right? And so we pull out those shadows. But then you also have a little bit of shading here, and then on the ends where the petal has curved under. So you want to really call out the highlight in the middle of your flower here by adding a little bit of shadow around the edges. Now, the nice thing about doing this with graphite is that it's very forgiving. If you don't like something that you've done, all you have to do is erase it and try it again. And eventually you'll figure out how it works and come up with something that you really like. So now if I wanted to get in more of a highlight here, I can just grab a little bit with my eraser. And that's going to help pull out the highlight on that petal a little bit more. Alright, so, and I can add, now that I have this soft look in here, I can add in more detail by just doing some little lines that I'm not really going to blend in. That give it a little bit more of a stylized look. Alright, so I would go around and do that on the whole flower, and to include the petals and the leaves and all these other little parts. And then really what you have to do after that is to add some more shading in the crevices and such around the flower to help it really pop off the page. So I'm just taking my graphite and putting it in these dark recesses, and I'm going to pull them out in some bigger swirls. You can see here. And then I use the remainder of the graphite that's already on the blending stump and just keep pulling it out until it doesn't pull anything further. And when I do this kind of shading, I'm okay with seeing those little swirly marks. I think it adds a little bit of character to my background shading. So I would just keep bringing those out until I was happy with how I felt like the flower was popping off of the background. So you can see that this is a technique that if you put on some music or a TV show or whatever, you can really just kind of go to town and have fun with creating a really beautiful flower with lots of depth behind it. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed learning this technique and that you apply it to a project soon. So add it into your crafter's toolbox and you'll have another way to make your flowers pop off the page. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll be back soon with another video. But until next time, happy crafting.